Cavs. We got our first answer to the Cavs free agency puzzle yesterday when we learned Thomas Bryant is coming back to the Cleveland Cavaliers on a one-year deal. He averaged 12 minutes, 6 points in 60 games with the Cavs, and he will be back as their third big next season. The big question for Cleveland now, as we wait to see what James Harden does with his extension, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is what they do with their other two impending free agents. Bull's favorite, Dean Wade.
Yep.
And Keon Ellis. These are the projected values for both Dean and Keon on the open market. Dean could get up to the full non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which averages out to between $14 and $15 million per year. Keon Ellis is expected to get somewhere in the $8 to $10 million per year range. Depending on what Harden does, the Cavs would have the ability to sign Ellis to a contract of that amount almost regardless. To get to that number for Dean Wade, they'd have to make another ensuing move. But Jason, I want to start with you. If these are the two values for
By the way,
Dean
before you
Wade,
get to Jason on this, isn't it great? Like $14 million per year. Football players have to be sick every day outside of quarterbacks to see like a nothing player, $14 million a year.
Yeah, that's like top. That's not top receiver money, especially over the last year.
Yeah,
but that's like top 15 receiver.
Yeah,
league
That's
money.
top guard money.
Yeah.
Running backs. How many running backs make $14 million a year? Two?
Yeah.
Like maybe Henry and McCaffrey? I don't even know if Henry makes that much. And this is for a nothing player.
Yeah. I think it says it all about NBA free agency that Dean Wade's at the top of every discussion list, right? ESPN does a segment, 3 bullet points, Dean Wade. Yahoo previews their article, 3 bullet points, Dean Wade. Now, the apron has changed things. Teams trade. Guys, you know, you extend your guys before you get there and you work out in trades later. But yeah, Dean Wade, priority free agent. Whew.
And by the way, some of the teams interested in Dean Wade are good teams.
Yeah.
San Antonio Spurs expected to be in the Dean Wade market. The Los Angeles Lakers expected to be in the Dean Wade market.
What's your point?
Some team's going to give Dean Wade.
He's not going to start for those teams.
He is a near top tier.
He's a priority top free agent on the market right now.
I understand what Dean Wade is, okay? But you will. We've been through this. You can't have him as a starter.
I don't know why you get mad at me for this.
Because your comment was like, look, Bull, you think he sucks, but all these good teams want him.
He's one of the 4 or 5. He's going to be one of the 4 or 5 highest paid free agents on the market. Something says either you're wrong or everyone in the NBA is stupid.
Everyone in the NBA is stupid.
Okay.
No, because...
I don't know why you get mad at me for that.
Zach just said it. Jason said it last week. The good players never get to free agency anymore. The best players.
Once again, nobody's you. Every time Dean Wade comes up, you find some argument.
You said it in a snide way. You were snide.
Said good teams are interested in giving Dean Wade a contract.
I get it.
At
And
that value.
Dean Wade as a 9th man on a team is perfectly fine.
Once again, who's ever arguing
that's
that
what
point?
I'm saying. So my point is I'm not surprised good deep teams like the Spurs would have interest in a player who can play on one side of the floor because he's a completely useless offensive player.
Did anyone say anything real quick? Bull,
I'm just stating a fact.
Jason,
I didn't say anybody said anything
ever
else.
say anything against that point to lead to this?
I don't believe so, no.
So, Jason, of the two options, if you're the Cavs, are you more willing to give Dean Wade somewhere in that $14 million range to keep him here, which would mean losing either Strus or Schroeder? Or are you more comfortable bringing Ellis back, not having to dump Schroeder or Strus, and go with that?
Just say it doesn't matter.
If you're making me pick between Dean Wade and Keon Ellis, it's Dean Aloysius Wade every time.
Is that his middle name?
No, I don't know. Maybe not. I take Dean. I was not impressed with Keon when he was here. I don't know if I'm in the minority on that. He didn't do a whole lot for me. I think Dean is more important than now. Are they going to be able to keep him? I don't know. It doesn't sound like it. But if everything's equal and you're allowed to pick between one of those two players, it's not close to me. I would take Dean Wade.
Yeah.
I would take Dean Wade over those two. Between those
Keon shoots. He makes threes.
He can't. He couldn't do anything in the playoffs either. I don't care what guys do in the regular season.
I was very surprised that it went that way for him. I mean, the playoffs started and he was out of the rotation.
Yeah.
And then they got to the next series and they tried him and he was 2 minutes and never heard from him again.
No.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Mike, does it matter?
Well, it matters in this regard.
Yeah.
Like, you're usually going with the bigger guy. And we know what Dean Wade is. We just been over it. And like, there's a reason teams are interested in him. You're not
Right.
counting on him. You're hoping if you bring him back that whatever series of moves you make, he ends up as your 8th or 9th guy.
Yeah.
Gives you valuable time in the regular season when the other guys aren't available or need to rest, and that he plays a small but specific role
Right.
when the games really count.
And that's right, and I agree, and I'd rather have Dean Wade. I say does it matter because, Mike, you made the point in our text chat yesterday that the fact that they signed Thomas Bryant makes you think they're not going to do anything of significance, and that, to me, just it feels, everything else feels pointless. If they don't make a significant move, everything else feels pointless because I don't think the Cavs can win as currently construed, and I think the NBA... Listen, the NBA playoffs did great, right? The ratings were through the roof. Obviously, a big part of that is the Knicks, the big fan base. I get it. I'm not coming on here to tell you the NBA is in bad shape. It's got all these problems. I can just speak for me, and I'm not alone. There's people, I think, in my age group that feel the same way. I am completely disillusioned by the NBA. I find the style of play boring. I get it. The league doesn't care about me, and that's fine. Maybe I shouldn't even bring it up. And I do every once in a while, and maybe this should be the last time I ever bring it up.
It won't.
But it won't be, you're right. The regular season is so awful. It is so horrible. And I'm trying to think, like, has it always been this way? And it hasn't. You know why? Because, and I'm just get off my lawn guy, but I think this is true. And you correct me if you guys think I'm wrong. When we were kids, and I'm a little older than you guys, but you're in the same neck of the woods, guys played hard in the regular season all the time. Or at least that's my impression of it. Maybe
that was
I'm
your
wrong.
impression of it. Yeah.
You don't think that was the
Well,
case?
I don't know, but that was your impression.
Guys played. Like, the great players played every game if they were healthy.
They did.
They played. There wasn't this like, oh, we'll wait till the fourth quarter and see what happens. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just pie in the sky memories, and it's not really true. And I wasn't. Yeah, let's face it. Part of it is just when I was a kid, you couldn't watch a game every day. So
scarcity, right? We don't have scarcity in sports anymore.
And it's just the NBA season goes on forever. And here's the worst part. You could say, well, the baseball season. A lot of people say baseball season goes on forever. Well, my argument to that is number one. Even now they've expanded it, it's still much harder to make the baseball playoffs than make the football playoffs. Mediocre for the moment with
basketball playoffs, you mean?
I'm sorry, the basketball playoffs.
Correct.
And the NBA is the only sport of the big three that only three sports that we pay most attention to, where the regular season just gets less interesting as it goes along. Whereas even if you're the equivalent of me in baseball. Like, there's pennant races usually at the end of the year. Guys are not cruising to the finish line. It's not like the last month of baseball season. Usually you're like, oh, my God. Mm-hmm. Certainly not the case in football. The last month of the NBA never has any meaningful things going on. Never. Ever.
And I think that's what they're trying to address.
No, they can't. They're not.
No, with the tanking stuff, with the tanking rules. That's what they're trying
Jason,
to address.
that doesn't address that problem.
No, it
The
does.
only thing that would address the problem is cutting out playoff teams, and they're not going to do that.
Well, it addresses it in the fact that now the worst teams don't get the best odds at
I
top
understand that,
picks.
but there's still nothing to play for at
In
the
a lot
end
of cases,
of the year.
in a lot of cases, it's
Like,
that way.
it's not, again, in baseball and football, teams are battling for playoff spots.
Right.
In basketball, yeah, there may be a battle for the 10 spot, but that team can't win anyway. So what's the difference?
Well, I do agree that there's too many teams make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But that's where, I mean, they make a boon, and the NBA playoffs go on for 2 months. And partly
Right.
because of how many teams make it.
Right,
And
right,
that's
right.
where they
I get it. I'm just saying,
financially-
think about how much better the
Right.
regular season would be if there were only 6 teams making the playoffs in a conference.
It would be best if they went to 70 games. It would mean more. And
Yeah.
there'd be less mileage on the players.
Yes.
But the owners aren't going to go for that because
Yeah,
that's
no.
giving away that money.
I
And then
know.
this mid-season tournament, conceptually, is a great idea. But it starts like 10 days into the
It's
season.
so dumb.
And it's
Yeah.
so dumb.
Yeah.
And it blends into the regular. Like,
Yeah.
make it an in-season tournament.
Yeah.
And now maybe there's some intrigue to it.
all they're doing is adding more workload
Right.
with this in-season tournament.
Yeah.
Not so I don't think it's worked. I don't know how long it'll go on. I don't think it's gained any traction these first couple of years.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really cares about it.
Do you know who played in the in-season championship game this year?
Yeah, the New York Knicks.
Beat the Spurs.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't know that.
But nobody knew that. Nobody remembered that.
Nobody besides me who
Yeah.
enjoys like
and
random.
and didn't the
satire
Pacers
basketball.
make it the year before or the year of that they went to the finals?
Look,
Yeah,
No,
I'm just
the
very
Bucks- the Bucks
disillusioned.
beat the
I
Thunder
don't
in
like all the 3-pointing. It's boring. All the 3-point shooting is boring to me. I just there's no post play.
Well, that's a different. There's different arguments going on here.
Yeah.
There's how hard do teams play?
Yeah.
There's a style of play with 3-point shooting
Right.
and at the rim, and that's all that the game
Yeah.
is anymore.
So the
And I'm
NFL
sure young fans love it, and they're telling me to shut up, and I get that. But
Well, the young fans love the music they play and the fireworks they
Oh,
shoot
can't
and all that.
stand the
you
music.
couldn't pay me to go to a
Yeah.
Cavs
No.
regular season.
Yeah, it's awful.
Because I hate that. It just
It's
want it off
awful.
my lawn, and it's
Yeah.
an age thing.
I
Yeah.
usually sit underneath when I go to the Cavs games. I just stay in the workroom because
Yeah.
it's so loud.
good.
I've
It's
done
so awful. The music
Jason
is so
comes, hangs
awful.
with me for 20 minutes, and then goes back. He's like,
Yeah,
"I gotta
yeah,
start
yeah.
writing." I know he's not writing.
So the NFL is going to go to 18. I don't think it's going to be next year automatically like a lot of people thought it was. But when the NFL went to 17,
Yeah.
like one of the thoughts was, okay, there's going to be all this intrigue in the end of the year. And we're going to add a totally different Saturday window
Yeah.
because we're going to string this out. But it's just made more teams clinch. It's made those games less.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
It
61
did last year. Yeah.
61 quarterbacks play a year. So
Yeah.
2 years ago, the Saturday 4:30 game, which is supposed to be a big spotlight, the Browns were out there playing Bailey Zappi and Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah.
And because of the structure of the AFC North, where there was a race, they had to put them in that window.
Yeah.
So it backfired. So no, they've hit jackpot with those Sunday night winner-take-all games.
Yeah.
But those are few and far. You know, and by
Yeah.
stretching it to 18, it's going to be more bad quarterbacks are going to play.
That's true.
You know,
But that could also be an anomaly last year. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if that continues to be the trend of teams clinch. Like last year, a lot of teams clinched early, and there was not much to play for the last week. But that's not necessarily going to happen every year.
because the goal is just to get to the playoffs. Only one team's getting that bye. So
Yeah.
then you get into week 17 and 18, and you're envisioning this is where I'm going to sit my guys.
Yeah.
Because our whole season comes down to January 9th. So
Right.
on December 29th and January 4th is when we're
Right.
going to sit guys.
Yeah.